Hello, everybody.
Hey.
Hello.
Yes. So excited to be here. I asked these two amazing ladies, Tracy and Parisa, to join me. These ladies work with me on my team. And my gaggle, my conglomeration of amazing creatures, creative creatures. um, and we have been really dynamically evolving my business lately. In the past, I would say 6 months or so, really changing things, taking things apart, letting go of things, adding things, getting clear on things. And we've had some really incredible meetings, especially lately. And we're like, we should share this with people because it's been really juicy. So thanks for coming and playing, ladies.
Thank you
Yeah,
for
thanks for
having
asking.
us.
Yeah.
Thanks.
And thank you for being brilliant and everything that you guys bring, because it's really such a total joy and pleasure to get to create with you guys. It's like, wow, really a gift to me. So
Thank you.
Thank
yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Pleasure.
Yeah. So, and it's funny because, I facilitate the Joy of Business, which is a specialty class within Access Consciousness, or specialty area. And one of my main classes that I do is Business Done Different. And we have one of those coming up in March. And this has really been a Business Done Different adventure. I feel like we've been using all the tools and even added some tools that are not Access Consciousness tools, but that have really helped us to get a lot of clarity from another training I've been doing called Strategic Coach. And for me, it's like, I guess, let me just start by saying, like, I got to a point, and you ladies have like really been with me through this, and I'm so grateful, because I got to a point at the end of the summer, this past summer, where I felt kind of burned out, and I was like, I'm not really happy. I was like, I thought I was happy, but I'm not as happy as I know that I can be. And I should be. My life looks, like if you look at it from the outside, social media, it looks like I should be extremely happy. I had just spent 6 weeks traveling all over Europe and facilitating classes. And it was really fun. It was actually amazing and wonderful. And I got to be around amazing people. And I came home and I was doing some stuff in the United States. But it was just this sense of like, there's so much more that is possible with all of this. And one of the things about the Access Consciousness and Joy Business tools, and this is also when I found Strategic Coach as well, is there's this invitation of like, live, create a beautiful life and let your business contribute to that, you know? And so that's where I started really looking at all of those pieces of like, okay, let me zoom out here and see what would I like my life to be? And then how can we create a business that is part of that, that contributes to that, and that makes my life greater and the world greater. And so we just set off to do that, and it's showing up. It's really cool.
Yeah. And it all started with questions, which is one of the coolest things to me. It's like you never have to know the answer or how it's going to show up. And in fact, you kind of can't. Like, there's been so many times that I can remember where we all like have this plan and we're like, oh, that showed up entirely differently and so much greater. And that's one of the most beautiful parts, is like how the entity of your business has been facilitating us and been like, look over here and look over here and do this different. And I just think it's so beautiful. It's like you're not alone in this journey. Like, the business truly contributes to itself and all of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I want to add too, like one of the biggest things I've gotten from this whole process is allowance, because it's like asking questions, but like being willing to receive the non-linearity of it all. because there's like, for me, there was a cognitive understanding of nonlinear, but to have that actual like energetic allowance for how that shows up any way it shows up has been so cool. And Heather, like your willingness to receive that and go with that. If something new shows up, if it's light, you'll receive it. And we can go there, even if it's totally different than something we thought.
Yeah.
And I just want to say, like, that's so cool to be, like, that energy is really cool to be around, because I've actually taken that into my personal life too, where it's like, oh, your business is your life and your life is your business. Oh, and like when you really get that on an energetic level, it's so beautiful. So I just wanted to say, like, that's been a cool piece for me. And then I bring that back to your business, like, oh, interesting how this all is like a rhythm and it all works together. So I just wanted to add that piece there to that piece there.
Oh yeah. Well, it makes me think about, I've said this so many times and really played with this a lot. We did this class in Venice in 2018. It was an access consciousness class, and it was called The Art of Creation, and a beautiful, beautiful class. And so it was facilitated by the founders of Access Consciousness, Gary Douglas and Dane Heer. And, they've created a multi-million dollar a year global business. And so they've done it all with the Access Consciousness tools. They've done it in a very, very different way. And they've really been my mentors. The two of them and Simone Milasas, who developed the Joy of Business, they've been my mentors over the years for doing business in a really different way, in a way that works for me, letting that be the guiding energies. And the entire class, and it was a very advanced class. It was a very expensive class. The whole class was about allowance and the tool and Access Consciousness interesting point of view, which is basically, a tool that you can use to get to interesting point of view, like to get to allowance, to get out of judgment of you, your business, your money flows, your lack of money flows, the people that you work with, the things that you create, the failures, the successes, all of it, right? And business done how most of us see and know business is, or most of the world knows business is done with so much judgment and so much computation and decisions and conclusions about how it's going to go and forcing it into a certain trajectory, which hardly ever works. And like Parisa's saying, the piece about the questions, being curious is like one of the greatest things you can bring to a creative process, whatever that is. Mm-hmm. And so the Art of Creation was the beginning for me of really choosing, okay, I am going to get to interesting point of view and to allowance with all of this. And it seems like a passive energy, but it's not, because what happens is when you have that, you actually get to, there's so much more creative possibility that shows up and innovative possibilities and, like different ways of looking at things and doing things. And to me, allowance and innovation go together dynamically, because you can't, if you have judgments about how things need to be, should be, must be, can't be, that you're eliminating so much possibility, like all the different choices that you might have that don't match those points of view. Mm-hmm. And so to me, after that class, I really prioritized that as my main tool, like really my main creative tool. It was allowance and interesting point of view. And it's been amazing what has shown up as a result of that.
Wow.
Yeah, and one thing I wanted to add with that is it's like I got comfortable. This is just me personally. Like I got comfortable with the judgments in business because I was so used to it.
Yeah.
I perceived it all the time. And I was like, oh, I have to do it like that because that person got that result. Therefore, clearly it works. I'm going to mimic that.
Yeah.
It's like a special gift of mine. and you know what? I tried it out. Didn't work, but I got comfortable with that. And so when we're talking about allowance, I also wanted to add, like, it's uncomfortable, and it's not a bad thing. Like I used to judge it as bad, but now I'm like, oh, that means like something new is showing up or I'm growing is like what I would tell myself, like whatever I had to tell myself, but I also want to add that it can be like uncomfortable But when we're all in the like uncomfortableness, like with each other, that's when you were talking about like these new ideas. And then we're like, oh, that's light. I'm so uncomfortable that the thing that's light is now like obvious. You know what I mean? And it's just been really, really cool to like explore that. And I'm like uncomfortable all the time now. And it's just
Yeah.
like just a part of like, I've adapted to it. And it's just like a part of it now, you
Yeah.
know? And now I can ask better questions, and not better, different questions, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that just made me remember that the inspiration for this Facebook Live was a few days ago where we were like, because we've been through this process lately, especially like in the past I don't know, month or so, where we've been actually developing an intern program and really like reorganizing the whole business and evolving it, you know, as is the title of this live. But there's been strategic coach. The tools that I've been learning there have been really, really facilitating me to get a lot more clear on exactly what I'm creating and why, and like, and making sure that what we're choosing in the business really matches what I'd like to see for my life and in the world and as the future and all of that. And so there's been a lot of like putting some more systems in place and more things in place to support the forward movement of the business in a much more organized and clear way. And part of the process of that has been actually spending quite a bit of time hanging out unclear, you know, with each other. And so we've had a number of meetings in the past few months, couple months maybe, where it's just sort of been like, we're all over the place, you know, and we're like, oh, there's this and there's this, and we don't know about this, and we don't know about this, and there's this and there's this. And it's like, but we just have stayed with the process, you know, and we've been meeting more often and just, you know, playing with more pieces and things like that and different questions and not judging it, not trying to push the process, not trying to rush it. And what's like, there's been this incredible like distillation that's happened over the course of that everybody's contributed to in their own way, even when it's like, hey, you know, I'm totally lost here. What am I doing? What's happening? You know, I was like, okay, cool. Yeah, there's a lack of clarity right now as we get to more clarity, you know. And now what's started to show up over the past week really is this sense of like, okay, now we know what we want to do with this intern program, how we want to create it, what we're, you know, and like how we're cultivating it and you know, and the future of the business and the website and all these different pieces. And it has been like everybody's willingness to be uncomfortable, unclear, you know, and you know, the play of it all basically is really has facilitated this, like what's showing up now. But we've really had to hang out, I think, in personal discomfort, each one of us in whatever way that is, and then with it as a team, you know, which is a whole different ball game when you're like, okay, there's, you know, 5 or 6 of us here right now, and everybody's like, what the hell's going on, you know? But then we just play with what's present, what's there, and we know that's going to facilitate the evolution.
Absolutely. Like that's when the awareness can all flow in without any barriers. And that's such a gift.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the willingness to get messy with other people and in front of other people, that's a really unique thing that to me has very much been facilitated by the tools of Access Consciousness and Joy of Business. Because in business in this world, like you're supposed to show up with your, you know, professional face on, like, and be like, well, I know what I'm doing, you know, and we're like, well, I don't really know none of us know what we're doing, but we know how to follow the energy. And that is actually so much more dynamic and so much more of a gift and like so much more potent in the evolution, the actual rapid evolution of a business. than being like, well, here I am and I know what I'm doing and this is my job and I'm here to do it, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah, and that like muscle building of being personally uncomfortable, being with the team when we're all like uncomfortable. And it's like my default was like to judge, like something's wrong, something, but to just be like, I'm not choosing that today. Like, what's the greatest tool is like stop it. Like, I'm just not choosing like not today. I'm just like not gonna go there. To not judge. Like that's when the things that were solid like start to melt. And like that's when like literally possibilities show up out of like nowhere.
yeah.
And to me, it's like I'm so clear that this is a tool and this is like muscle building for me, like for the future, but it's not like separate from the business's future. It's like the futures are just like you're just like I know that this is creating a future. I'm not like questioning like if that's going to create a future. It's like I know that's creating a future, and like that energy to me is like so generative. It's just so cool to be a part of. And then I'm getting like used to that energy now. Like, oh, like this is that muscle that I'm building. And so that just opens up so many doors. And that's just like such a gift in so many different ways. As there's like all this chaos going around, it's like finding those, areas where you can have that sense is like really such a gift.
Totally. And there's a level of vulnerability that is required with all of that. That is like something that I know there are like, vulnerability has been more of a buzzword. Brene Brown has kind of put it on the stage, in a different way, which I'm really grateful for. More people choosing that and valuing that energy. And it is one of the 5 elements of intimacy in Access Consciousness: vulnerability, allowance, gratitude, honoring, and trust. And to me, that's also a very fundamental creative, like that. Those are energies that are fundamental to creation and exponentialize business and creation. When we have that with ourselves, we can have it with each other. We can have it with our creations and the business. And definitely, a story for another time that we won't be delving into those energies now, but it's something that is really, I would say, a very key aspect of being willing to forge something different in the world that hasn't been created before. And it's if we don't trust ourselves, if we don't honor what we know, if we don't have allowance of ourselves and each other and vulnerability and all of that and gratitude, it's like you become immobilized, and you go into trauma drama when things don't work out the way that you wanted them to, which is that's always the case with business. It's always gonna, have a life of its own. And
yeah.
Yeah. So, oh my goodness, it's the top of the hour. We were like, we got to be done at the top of the hour. And now I just want to say too, really quickly before we finish, we could be here forever. There's so many team meetings that we've had that I've been like, God, we should share this with the world,
So true.
Yeah. But these are all things that we do explore in the Business Done Different class. And in a lot of the classes, it depends on kind of what the angle is. And I will be doing some stuff around the elements of intimacy as well in the spring. But I just want to really invite people to that class in particular, the Business Done Different class, because it is such a deep dive into creating business from a complete, like from this space. And it's like, it's pragmatic, because what's showing up in this business and my business as we evolve it. And it's been a lot of like, it's felt like a lot of like from the outside looking in, it could we could say like, there's a lot of inactivity, or there's not a lot of like movement, but there's been so much movement under the surface. And trusting that. And when I'm like, oh, I should. And it's like, no, stay with it, stay with it, stay with it. And the business is just like starting to emerge like the flowers in the spring, coming up from the ground. you didn't know they were there. And it's like they start to blossom, and it's really starting to blossom in a very different way, and in a way that's like something I've been asking for a very long time. And it is those tools of the Business Done Different, specifically, and that conversation that leads you into this space of like trusting you, like knowing that the way that you create business and the way that you know how to create is exactly what is appropriate for you and your business and whatever it is that you're part of creating. And then learning how to use that in a very dynamic way. It's so empowering and so life-changing, this class. And it changes my business every time as well. And I'm excited. I'm like, yeah, it's BDD time.
Me too. I can't wait. I'm like, every day is BDD time for us.
It's true. It's
Yeah.
true. Yeah. Yeah. So this class will be done online. It's March, I believe, 20th, something in there.
So yeah.
Yeah. It'll be online on Zoom. It's 3.5 hours a day for 4 days in a row. HeatherNichols.com/BDD online. Yeah.
Yes.
And you are invited to come and play. There's no prerequisites. You don't have to know anything about Access Consciousness. You don't even have to have a business, because your business is your life and your life is your business. So yeah. So thanks everybody for being here with us.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank
you ladies for being here, and we'll see you soon.
Bye everyone.
Bye.